Saturday night here in Las Vegas. Lamont Roach, William Zepeda, vacant WBC lightweight championship of the world on the line. The belt that was stripped of Shakur Stevenson when he was fighting for the WBO belt at 140. And I don't know why that was, but it is so. And Roach will fight Zepeda as a slight favorite. I was at the press conference today, and I wonder if we get 3 draws in a row for Lamont Roach. Not out of the question at all, but this is a tough fight to pick, actually. Lamont Roach, good fighter, coming off of, I think, one of the most underrated fights of 2025 last December against Pitbull Cruz. That was kind of a classic. It was a hell of a fight. And then, of course, Gervonta Davis, a fight he should have won if a knockdown's ruled properly in the 7th. So he has a good bit of momentum heading into this. Zepeda hasn't fought in a year. It was a loss to Shakur Stevenson, but he did better against Shakur Stevenson than Teofimo Lopez did. He did better against Shakur Stevenson in terms of landing punches than any fighter ever has. So he's not as explosive as Pitbull Cruz. He's not quite the puncher Cruz is, but he throws a lot more punches. And it's going to be the overall superior skill and counter-punching and defensive acumen of Lamont Roach against the volume and relentlessness of William Zepeda that I think, like the Pitbull Cruz fight, is definitely going to lead to another kind of classic action fight Saturday night. This is going to be a very, very good fight. That much I am convinced of. What I'm not fully convinced of is who's going to win it. Are you?
For me, it's a win for both guys, and that's not me being like cheeky. I know it sounds like a cheeky answer. It's a real 50-50 fight if we're talking about who's going to get their hand raised when the final bell is rung. It's a beautiful 50-50 fight. I'm looking forward to this clash. I liked Zepeda against Shakur. Obviously, he lost, but I liked the effort. I liked that fight. It was entertaining. It was interesting. I really like the idea that Roach gets a title shot off of the back of that Tank Davis draw for the reasons you've already stated. Should have been a win. But in a way, it is a win. I mean, Tank hasn't fought since. Coming off that fight, Roach gets a title shot, and it's in a 50-50 fight. And his name is ringing out. And this is his opportunity to prove that Tank fight wasn't a fluke, that, yeah, maybe he does deserve to be world champion right now. And in the wake of the Tank disappearance from the boxing scene, he kind of is the de facto champion in my book. And so this is his moment to consummate that, if you will. These guys are also in this fight, I think, exemplary of what that next tier of young fighters is, where that talent lies. How good are they? You lose to Shakur with what we expect Shakur to be and how we rate him currently in his skills and abilities. That's not a scarlet letter. That's a respectable loss, if you will. Like, you're lost to arguably one of the top 3 pound for pounds for sure, and maybe ultimately one day the number 1 pound for pound. If you draw with Tank, who is the biggest draw in your division and also arguably top 3 pound for pound at his peak, and he hasn't fought since and ducked the rematch by my estimation, then, you're, again, that kind of next tier of talent. And these guys fighting it out, if that ends up being as entertaining as the Tank fight was or as the Shakur fight was, then we're looking at 2 guys, both of which could be draws on their own. I'm not convinced we don't see this fight twice with what is entertaining as I expect it to be. So if we're looking at right now an era in boxing where in these, weight classes, we've got Shakur and Tank at his peak and Devin Haney and that level of talent and skill and ability. And then right below that, you've got a Roach and a Zepeda and a Keyshawn Davis, and that's the next level down, and those are the guys constantly knocking on the doors of the upper tier. Then we're going to have a hell of a good run of fights for the next handful of years. This to me is the bellwether for that. It's a good indication of where we are overall and what boxing is going to be able to produce and provide. I like this fight a lot. I think it means more than the title that's on the line. It kind of means where are we in boxing in these divisions talent-wise. Because if those guys that we mentioned or I mentioned, are not in the way, then maybe nobody beats these guys. Maybe these, I could see these guys running these divisions. And with this Zuffa division, or, who knows how Zuffa goes, if they start plucking out the Shakurs, there is going to be two different sides of the streets, or silos, as I like to call them. And we might have different guys running different sides. And these guys, entertainment goes a long way. And I expect this to be a damn entertaining fight.
Yeah, and Raymond Murataya in the co-main was really excellent in January when he beat Andy Cruz. Robert Garcia tells me this may be his last fight at 135 pounds, but we'll see if he can stop Robson Conceição, who went 1-1 on paper with Oshaki Foster. A lot of people thought he might have beat Oscar Valdez, fought Shakur Stevenson to a 12-round fight. So maybe Murataya could be the first guy to stop him. And then the other guy in this division, the WBO champ, Abdullah Mason, I love him against the winner of this fight. I think, it'd be ambitious at just 22 years old to fight the winner of this fight, but I think he might just be able to beat whoever comes out on top of this fight with his advantage in power and reach in this division. But to this fight, Zepeda's very good combination puncher. You let him get rolling downhill. The thing is, his punch resistance, as Lamont told me a week ago, is moderate. Tevin Farmer dropped him. Tevin Farmer hurt him pretty good in the 12th round of their rematch. Tevin Farmer is not a puncher by any means. Shakur Stevenson hit him with his best, and Shakur Stevenson is supposed to be a better puncher than Tevin Farmer, but Zepeda ate everything that came his way, and he ate a lot, and was relentless all 12 rounds in that fight. Can Lamont Roach get his respect? Can he hurt him? Can he drop him? Lamont Roach in the pocket, beautiful, bam, bam. Beautiful catch and shoot game, beautiful in the pocket counter puncher. But can he win a fight in the pocket all night? He doesn't have exquisite foot speed. And someone with superior foot speed to him, like Shakur Stevenson, ultimately, as Floyd Mayweather tells young guys, some guys you're just going to have to fight in the pocket. They're just going to close the distance, and you're not going to have a chance on that given night. Can Lamont Roach, can he win a fight like that? He is a sharp puncher. That's a big key in this fight. Will he hurt? Will he drop? Can he even stop William Zepeda? I think he's more confident in his power right now than ever. He dropped Hector Luis Garcia to win a 130-pound title a couple years ago. He knocked out Feargold McCrory right after that. His power buckled Gervonta Davis and kept him honest, kept him respectful. He had Pitbull Cruz's respect in that fight too. And Pitbull has a better chin than Zepeda, bigger puncher than Zepeda. That's what this fight might come down to. And if he can't, Raheem, he may just get out-hustled and lose this fight and get a little bit overwhelmed by that pace and volume of William Zepeda. If I had to lean one way or the other, I will give the edge to Lamont Roach based on his overall level of skill, timing, and counter-punching ability, and punch for punch being a little bit sharper than Zepeda. But if you're a little bit sharper punch for punch, but the other guy's throwing 3 or 4 to 1, that can be outweighed. And Zepeda is a guy whose combinations and hand speed builds steam the more you let him tee off. So we'll see if the uppercut of Roach, the check left hook of Roach, the occasional right hand sweeping it down the pipe when he can, stabbing the body, touching the body, will he put together enough volume, or will he not need to? Will his punches will they hurt Zepeda in this fight? If not, Zepeda may overwhelm him.
I was remiss in not mentioning Abdullah Mason in that handful of fighters that I just listed. However, I can't list everybody, but because he's such a pivotal character, because the upside and the potential for who he will be and has become to some degree already being a world champion in that division, like he is the guy who is not as proven as Haney, who hasn't had the opportunity yet, I think, even to be as celebrated as Shakur, but I believe could potentially have a bigger career than both of them, potentially, and also shows cracks, also shows that there's still a learning curve that needs to be explored and some improvements that he needs to make, I believe, for the longevity and trajectory that I'm talking about. If he is going to eclipse those two names, he's going to have to tighten that defense, things we've talked about in the past, right? So he's kind of like this entity right there that sits definitely for me above the Zepedas and the Roaches, but not quite at the Haney's and the Shakurs. And so this is really a beautiful fight, because if he gets the winner, then, that is, again, this is just sets up so many beautiful potential matchups and defining fights for guys. I believe that Roach goes into this fight as confident as he's ever been. In his mind, he just beat the undefeated Tank Davis, who hasn't fought since. And if I'm Roach, I'm saying so far I've retired Tank Davis. He had an opportunity to do the rematch. He ducked it, and now he is not fighting. He had an opportunity, you could say, for the Jake Paul fight. That fell apart. Well, when that fell apart, my fight was still, you could still come back home. He didn't come back knocking on my door, and now he's talking about Bam Rodriguez. He's talking about anybody but me. And he's not fighting anybody, period. So until he's back, I retired him. And even if he comes back and don't fight me, I clearly beat him in the ring and got jobbed by poor officiating. And then I beat him in public opinion because he's ducking the rematch. That's how I'm thinking if I'm Roach. So I'm going in there in that Zepeda fight with a real live opponent, a 50-50 fight, a guy who I'm sure, and Zepeda believes that nobody but Shakur Stevenson can beat me. Like, yeah, I got beat by the best, but I'm the second best then. And nobody else is taking my second best spot, and I got to go in there and prove that, right? So that's what the stakes are for this fight, and I believe that it's Roach that's going in there with the most confidence. Zepeda's coming in there to reclaim his confidence and position in his own mind. That's a little bit, for me, an advantage for Roach, but Zepeda's a dog. And Zepeda was in a dog fight. And if he turns this fight into a dog fight, to your point, maybe he overwhelms Roach, who is a more patient and, not quite a volume puncher like that, and can be beaten by Zepeda for that exact reason. And for me, I mean, what more do you want from a title fight?
Zepeda might be like, you're not Shakur Stevenson.
That's exactly what he's got to be like. Yeah, and to be fair, he's not.
He's not.
So is it not? Is it only Shakur Stevenson that can beat you, or do you have to be Shakur Stevenson to beat Zepeda? That's what Zepeda. That's the question that Zepeda has to answer now. Do you have to be Shakur Stevenson to beat him, or not? And if not, then Lamont Roach will step in and be like, I can do that too, and potentially do it better. Like, that's how Roach has to be thinking. This is a beautiful clash, and the consequences, if that's the right word, really, I could have found a better one, of the fallout from this fight will be extraordinary as well. Like, I'd love to see Lamont Roach face Abdullah Mason. I'd love to see William Zepeda face Abdullah Mason. I would love to see even the loser in this fight. And again, I'm predicting that we're going to see this twice. I think this fight's going to be so good that they're going to be in for the rematch. But it's also, I believe, going to be so close that even the loser has a great option.
Or another draw.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe we should bet the draw. Should this be the first time that actually goes on the record with a bet?
This has to be the first time. I got to check the books, but the draw odds have to be way closer than they normally ever. Usually a draw is like, what, the 25, 35 to 1, 40 to 1. They got to be like 10 to 1 for this fight. I got to look it up, but let us know in the comments. But now, here's the thing. Abdullah Mason, I think he would knock Zepeda out. Okay, because Zepeda is going to come forward and run into that smoke, into that wiry punching power. And again, I think even though Roach would be a tougher style matchup, smarter than the young Abdullah Mason, craftier, I think the reach and the power. But guess what? He's not getting either one, unfortunately. Unless I don't know, unless TNT really, really tugs on the arm of the promoters, because Roach and Zepeda and Abdullah Mason are the first two headliners of their first two shows on TNT. And they may be new to the boxing game and go, yeah, we like that and we like that. We want to see that together. But the fight that that Lamont Roach, and again an Oshaki fight, I think he wants to mix it up with the veterans further along and establishing their career, understandably so. I think he would entertain maybe Oshaki Foster claiming his mandatory spot at 135, looking at that, although I hope Oshaki does the unification with Navarrete. But the fight that Lamont keeps talking about is Shakur. And the fight that Shakur keeps entertaining is Lamont. And so I do wonder, and I didn't get a chance to ask him this at the presser. I was too busy getting spun around in circles by Mauricio Suleiman. But I do wonder if Lamont Roach's what his promotional deal is looking like. This will be his fourth fight in association with ProBox. He obviously, PBC had some options on him after giving him the opportunity for Gervonta Davis. But when those deals expire, whenever that may be, I wonder if that's why he thinks the Shakur fight is so realistic and vice versa. Shakur thinks the Roach fight is so realistic. Could he be freed up for a fight with Zuffa fighting Shakur Stevenson? Or is it already something been discussed with with ProBox, Gary Jonas, whoever he's with? For whatever reason, they seem confident that they could be fighting each other next. And it would explain why Shakur keeps saying it's not going to be Rayo. It's not going to be Rayo. I know all signs point to it being Rayo. I know they may want me to fight Rayo, but it's not going to be Rayo. So we'll see.
The intel to have right now is what everybody's contract says. That's where we're at. Like, if you want to know what's going to happen in the next year, like if you want to see how the next 12 months is going to play out and have a good bellwether in the next 6 months, as Jan 1st, as Dana White keeps famously saying, find out where everybody's contracts end, how many fights are left on their deals, and what the triggers are for extensions. If you have that information, you can lay out the next 12 months of boxing.